Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to this Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hope everyone's going to have a great day today. We're going to kick this show off here in just a minute with our good friend Brent Beaird talking college sports, get his news and notes, what's going on in the college football world. And then the second portion is going to be our high school roundup, talking to some high school coaches about their previous games and their upcoming games. But in the meantime, let's jump straight to the Titan Tomorrow hotline, and we're joined by Brent Beaird, Heisman Trophy, not a Heisman Trophy winner. Remember I called you that, Brent? You're just a voter.
Yeah, I'd love to have one on my mantle somewhere, but I tell you, Shane, in the midst of all this, it's really going to be fascinating to see what the Heisman Trust is going to do. That if they might, with these championship games being played in almost late December, if awarding the trophy could be delayed a bit.
That's a great point to think about that. Well, Brent, we got a week under our belt where we had some games. I want to get your thoughts on the Big 12 losing 3 home games to the Sun Belt Conference.
Well, look, I give more credit than anything else to the Sun Belt Conference with this, because frankly, these guys were, as much as anything else, they were ready to play. I mean, Louisville just absolutely dismantled Iowa State, and they were the more physical team in that game. And look, Billy Napier, their coach, is going to be a hot commodity coming up. He was on the Alabama staff not too long ago that did a really nice job there, particularly in recruiting. Arkansas State beating Kansas State was no fluke either. That they were very much ready to play. That Hatcher kid at quarterback for Arkansas State was in the Alabama quarterback room. He read the writing on the wall when Tua came in, decided to leave, and that really opened up a spot for him. And then Coastal Carolina beating Kansas pretty well speaks for itself with Les Miles being there at Kansas. But and look, the Pac-12, the Big 12 will regroup, and they'll be okay. I mean, Oklahoma will carry the day. Texas had a good opening, and I think some of these schools, Kansas State and Iowa State, will regroup. But Shane, as much as anything else, I just want to give credit to the Sun Belt. One of the funnier things that I've seen on Twitter that came out last night basically said that the Big Ten was really smart to wait so that they didn't have to play any Sun Belt teams. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. Brent, you mentioned Oklahoma, and I saw in an email you sent me a couple of days ago, Oklahoma, and I mentioned this yesterday on the show because I thought it was an amazing stat. That was the first time they had won a football game with a quarterback that they recruited out of high school since 2014. That's unbelievable.
It really is, isn't it? And I mean, you think about the transfers they have had, but I will say this. As a matter of fact, the date was that they won a game with a quarterback signed out of high school since November 22nd, 2014. I think that really helps their recruiting as if they needed any, frankly, at the quarterback position. But at some point, Shane, you've got to go with the guys you recruit, don't you? And really start to develop them. So, and this Rattler kid, but look, what we heard even last year, that even with Jalen Hurts, that there were weeks where they were really kind of mulling over in their mind. Sometimes when Jalen Hurts struggled, should they go with the Rattler kid, but they waited and bided their time, which is at this point pretty smart. He's the next star on the horizon. But yes, this is a kid they actually signed out of high school.
Yep. We're speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Brent, the recruiting dead period was extended. Explain to our listeners what that means.
It basically keeps recruits in a lot of ways from coming to games, and also being they've been basically just having Zoom meetings with these recruits and with their parents, so they have spent a lot of time with these coaches through Zoom, and that has led to some of these early schools like Tennessee getting so many recruits at one time. But now with it being extended to January 1, the thing that makes you wonder is, we've got the early signing period in the middle of December. Now, will they keep the early signing period, or will they just have one signing period in February? Now, we have not heard that the early signing period is not going to happen. But the problem with this recruiting dead period is you just don't have the evaluation time. The coaches don't, and frankly, in fairness to the players and the families, neither do they, in order to really check and see what they want to find out. So, as far as we know right now, the early signing day is still on, but Shane, I won't be surprised if they actually just do away with that and go to the one in February. But again, in fairness, if you know where you're going and your mind's made up and you want to go ahead and sign, I can also understand that them doing that. So that's something we need to watch pretty carefully.
Yeah, and part of that means no kids are going to go to any games.
Yes.
Kids get to go to the swamp and watch a game. That ain't happening at all this year.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see from a recruiting standpoint. A lot of these kids know about these schools, but you still want to go and experience the game day atmosphere. Sure. That's not going to happen at all this year.
And frankly, that's a shame. I mean, we all understand because of the virus. And, Shane, the reality of it is coaches don't want other people coming in that haven't been in their bubble because of the risk of the virus. And that, again, is one of the difficult things we've got to deal with. And they're doing the best they can do in the recruiting game because of it.
Yeah, and, I've heard how Florida's going to travel, what they're doing for home games. It is all changing, and parents are going to be able to go to games, but you're not going to be able to hang out with your kid after games and things of that nature. Brent, looking at the Big Ten, they're going to come back and they're going to play football now. Give us an update of what you're hearing, what's going on, and why are they starting so late?
Well, they're starting so late because I made foolish decisions about a month ago to not play at all. So what that means now is that they're not going to be able to. They still have time, obviously, to get ready. And be able to start. October 24th is a date that they're looking at. Now, they still want to be able to get in at least 8 games or so and then have their championship game basically on the same time around when the SEC is going to be having theirs so that they can get into the college football playoff. So, look, you've got them starting on the 24th. Now the Pac-12 is looking like they want to start on Halloween, which, by the way, is on a Saturday this year, which originally was going to be the day for Georgia, Florida, but now obviously that's been delayed another week. So the Big Ten now announces that it's going back, and again, really incredibly poor management decision-making by Kevin Warren, the commissioner, and by the presidents of the Big Ten. And look, they're going to give you all this rhetoric about going back because we have more testing knowledge now. We're going to be able to do it faster. Shane, that's part of it, that it's only a segment of it. The other reality here is two other things. One is they're watching the NFL, they're watching the other conferences go back, and it's working in the internal pressure that they're getting from their own people, the coaches, and the players and the families. Give Nebraska a lot of credit for this, and give Iowa a lot of credit for this, but for putting it out there. And guys like Justin Fields and James Franklin, the coach at Penn State. But look, the other real reason they're going back is they had multiple lawsuits that they didn't want to deal with, and if those lawsuits went through and it went to a trial, what the Big Ten was going to be having to do was to tell their protocol of what they did and more likely did not do, as far as declaring that they weren't going to play, and that would have been highly embarrassing for them. So as much as anything else, their reason for going back was to escape these lawsuits and to have to explain what they did about a month ago.
Yep. Now, Brent, when is the Big Ten going to come out with their schedule?
That's a good question. They're working on that now, and they're hoping by Alvarez, the AD at Wisconsin, Barry Alvarez, said yesterday that they're hoping to get that done by the end of the week. Now, the Big Ten had a big shindig that lasted about an hour and a half to 2 hours when they originally had their schedule. So I'm guessing that they probably will have a much shorter, to the point one this time, or may even just release it keep from being embarrassed again. But we're expecting that at this point, Shane, hopefully by the end of the week or the first of next week.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. September is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan Tomorrow hotline, you can follow him on Twitter at Brent Beaird. All right, Brent, let's go to the SEC. We're about a week away. I mean, game week comes in on Monday. They'll start preparing for their opponents. Talk a little bit about what's going on in Alabama. You know, there's been reports, Mac Jones has looked good at the quarterback position, but they have a highly talented freshman that may get some playing time.
Yeah, and I think he will. Also, now, first of all, Mac Jones has been very sharp. I think they're very pleased with Mac, obviously coming from Jacksonville Bowls. Bryce Young, it hurt him, Shane, because he didn't have a spring. So he's behind, but they like what they see. And I tell you, another guy who's playing well is Coach Paul Bear Bryant's grandson, Paul Tyson. He believe it or not, he's got the strongest arm on the team, but he's not ready to play that much yet. But he has done some improving. Offensive line, maybe the best they've had since around 2012, which is a mouthful. Najee Harris, they think is going to be a Heisman Trophy candidate, but they've got some really good freshman running backs like Rodell Williams and Jace McClellan and Kyle Edwards. Defensively, they're going to be better than they were last year. That was the problem they had. Christian Barmore's been hurt. He should be back soon. There's also a kid named William Anderson who's one of the freshmen, and that he's just been unblockable, and they're trying to keep the hype down on him right now, but they're very excited about what he may be able to do. They start the season at Missouri. Missouri announced yesterday they've got 12 players that they're holding out because of COVID. So if you're Missouri and Alabama's coming in, the last thing you want to hear is, well, we've got 12 players who can't play. Now, again, we don't know who they are. Are they starters or are they third-teamers? Or we'll find out later. But that certainly can't bode well, can it, Shane, with Alabama coming in?
Not at all. And again, we don't know if they've tested positive or if they're in the tracing program.
Right.
They were in contact with someone. So, Georgia, Jamie Newman opts out, and I have my own opinions on that. I don't, Brent, I think he's a good player. I don't see him being a first-round pick like all these analysts do.
Right.
I personally think that he obviously wasn't playing well in scrimmages or just, saw the writing on the wall that, hey, here I am going to be a fifth-year transfer, and if I don't win the starting job, it's going to look bad. Your thoughts? Is JT Daniels going to be the quarterback?
Well, that would be logical, but that might not be the case. Dwan Mathis is a kid. He's a redshirt freshman who's playing very well. This would be a great story if he wins the job. Dwan Mathis, you remember, Shane, had brain surgery a few months ago, and he recovered from that. So he's doing very well. Now, JT Daniels has not even been cleared in order to have any kind of contact at this point. Remember, he tore his ACL last year, had a great year in 2018, got hurt last year at USC and couldn't play. But look, I'm with you and Jamie Newman. I mean, basically what happened there is Jamie Newman was struggling in the scrimmages, and these other quarterbacks looked better than he did. Frankly, I'm not sure he wanted the competition. So, which is very unfortunate. I mean, look, we all know you're a hamstring away from playing, and he really should stay there. But right now, that's what you've got is Dwayne Mathis and JT Daniels, and don't forget Carson Beck, who is from Mandarin High School here in Jacksonville, is in that mix somewhere, and hopefully maybe he'll get a little bit of playing time this year. But again, Shane, wouldn't you like to have this situation if you're a freshman quarterback and you get to play this year and it really doesn't count against your eligibility? That's a dream world, isn't it?
It really is. It's amazing. Everybody gets another year of eligibility. So LSU's had some players opt in and opt out. What's going on the Bayou?
You really need a roster right now to keep up with who's in and out with LSU. Tyler Shelvin, who is their junior nose guard, who is just a man beast, he opted out. Now he's thinking about coming back. Neil Farrell is back, another defensive lineman. So he opted out on August the 8th, and he is back at this point. Nelson Jenkins, who is a defensive tackle at LSU, is opted out. So it looks like he's gone unless he changes his mind. Shane, the thing that I don't understand right now, and I get it in some ways, but in other ways I don't, is there are people who are still predicting LSU to be in the playoffs or in the top 10. I'll be honest with you, as good as they are, as much talent as they have, I just don't buy that right now. And this happened about 2 weeks ago. That there was a article that came out and said that in the two deep depth chart from last year, the national championship game, LSU's lost 25 players. 25 players in the two deep depth chart, including 17 starters. So, and that's not even including Joe Brady, who's going to the NFL, the wizard at calling plays and developing Joe Burrow. So, Shane, please tell me how in the world that you can lose that many players and people think that you're going to be in the playoffs. I love O. He's great for LSU, and they've recruited a lot of great talent. But you can't lose that many frontline players and repeat.
I agree. So Texas A&M, I think this is a critical year for Jimbo in year 3. I think a lot of people are expecting a lot out of him with all the money that they paid in his contract, but they just lost one of their top receivers.
This is one of the top receivers in the league. Jamon Osborne has decided that he is going to prepare for the draft. Now, look, if you put a top 5 receivers in the SEC together, this kid would be somewhere on the list. He is that good. So that's a real problem for them, to say the least. And they've lost a couple of their tight ends that they were really looking for because they really thought they were going to be a big part of the passing game. James Foster, who's a redshirt sophomore quarterback, has re-entered the NCAA transfer portal. Foster's one of these kids where he opted out, then he came back, and now he's opting and going in the transfer portal again. So, look, I mean, I know these kids get different information at different times, which probably sways their decision making. And again, Kellen Mond's their quarterback, but as you said a minute ago, Shane, this is a crucial year for them. This is Jimbo's third year. A lot of the A&M beat writers have told us that his clock really started running this year, and after that, there's going to be more pressure on him. $75 million is a lot of money, and they've got to show more than what they have this year in order for him to start earning it. And for that seat, and the seat's not hot by any stretch of the imagination, but there could be some grumbling for sure.
Yeah. In Starkville, is KJ Costello going to be the quarterback? And I think those guys have a chance to go upset LSU week 1.
And I agree with you very much. Mike Leach gave one of those replies when he said if they had to play today, that it would be Costello. And look, he's 6'5", 222, was really good at Stanford. And I tell you, Shane, I'm sure you've seen him play and probably know about that situation. I'm with you. If he plays, I'll say this, he'll be the best quarterback on the field in that game. Miles Brennan for LSU is, I think, a good prospect and has had some good numbers if you believe what they gave out the other day. But Costello, frankly, if with the Leach working with him, Shane, I think he could be pretty special by the end of the year.
I agree, especially in that system. There's no question about it. Brent, before we let you go, I got to ask you your thoughts on what happened up in Tallahassee.
Well, I'll give you a couple answers for that. It was, number one, I give Jeff Collins a lot of credit. Mm-hmm. This is hard to believe, but people who watched that game and who were there, Georgia Tech was actually the more physical team, and they wanted it more in the fourth quarter. That's hard to believe, but that's just the truth. Jeff Sims, the quarterback out of Sandalwood in Jacksonville, was by far the best quarterback on the field at that point. So now, if you're an FSU fan, I still think you made a good choice in getting Mike Norvell. Chubba Purdy is going to be your answer at quarterback, and he's rehabbing, and Mike Norvell said he was going to be back with them pretty soon. Now, they've lost a couple of players this week. Quarterback Isaiah Bolden is in the transfer portal. DJ Matthews is the same. Matthews, when he's healthy and got his head on right, is really very good. Now, again, they struggle at quarterback with Blackman. Blackman has no business throwing the ball down the field. He's not very accurate. They need to keep him within 15 to 20, 25 yards. The offensive line, as bad as it looks at times, has actually made a little bit of progress. They're off this week trying to get better. Asante Samuel is a man among boys, to say the least, in the secondary for FSU. They've got a crucial game coming up, Shane, with Miami next week that's going to tell a lot about their season. And then they've got a very difficult stretch on their schedule. They need to finish strong. I still think they will make progress by the end of the year, and they will be a better football team. And you can explain this to people better than anybody, but they have a mindset right now that they've got to change, in that we can get ahead and we play well, we come out looking good, but by the third and fourth quarter, we give up the lead, and that's something that's got to change. As I've talked to some people about this, they've got to get the Willie Taggart out of them and get a different mindset to where they can win in the fourth quarter. And Shane, look, I don't care what level of football you play on. If you think you're going to the fourth quarter and somehow you're going to lose instead of win, that affects everything you do, does it not?
No doubt about it, Brent. Great information as always. I can't wait to have you on next week when it's actual game week and the SEC is getting ready to kick it off. Stay safe, my friend. Appreciate you joining us.
You too, brother. Always enjoy it. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird joining us on the Titan MR hotline. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. When we come back, we'll start our high school roundup. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. GTS Handyman Services, whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting in Gainesville, they are the team to hire. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici, Regal Cinemas, and coming spring 2021, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us. Now we're going to get into our high school roundup. We're going to be joined by PK Young, head football coach Marcus McDonald.
We're now joined by PK Young, head football coach Marcus McDonald, coming off a big win last Friday night against the Eastside Rams. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Coach, tell us a little bit about how. We're now joined by PK Young, head football coach Marcus McDonald, coming off a big win last Friday night against the Eastside Rams. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Coach, tell us a little bit about how the game went last week against Eastside.
It was a little bit sloppy at first. We went down, we scored a touchdown, got called back. We punched it in, and then, gave up a muff punt, let them into the end zone and stuff. So it was a very sloppy first half. But the kids responded in the second half, did what they had to do, and pulled out a win, a good win over Eastside team.
Yeah, you sit at 1-1. You had a heartbreaker the week before against Trenton. Were you proud about how your kids responded after that heartbreaking loss at Trenton in overtime?
Yeah, it was emotional for some of those kids, and I was excited about what our team could be after that game because Trenton's a really good team, and just I let them know and realize the things that Trenton had to do to beat us. They ran 4 plays that were non-conventional plays, so to speak. 2 reverses on a kickoff and 2 swinging gates on PAT. That got them 10 extra points in the game. And we did the same things, but we did them conventionally. We had 2 2-point conversions and a kickoff return for a touchdown as well. And just let them know that, Trenton really, really, really dug into their bag of tricks to beat us. And that let me know how good our team can be when you're pushing somebody that close to the brink.
Yeah, we're speaking with Coach Marcus McDonald, PK Young football. Coach, who you got tomorrow night?
We got Florida High coming up.
And they're coming to your ballpark, right?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
That's the school that's equivalent to Florida State University, as y'all are to the University of Florida. How do they look on tape?
We haven't actually seen them on tape this year because they haven't played a game yet.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's a bit, but we we looked at their roster. I know that they're going to have guys. I know they got 3 exceptional guys in the secondary, 3 stars and better. I know they've got a kid from my school that I came to before here, kid from Knoxville Catholic. He's a real good kid. So I know they got guys. I think my D-line coach told me that their whole entire offensive line comes back from last year, the runner-up to the state championship. So they got a lot of tools coming back. We're not taking them for granted one bit.
Coach, PK Young, I'm trying to remember, do y'all normally play East Side in a regular season, or just because of COVID, y'all threw it together, right?
No, actually, the history of this game is 2 years old as far as I know. We played them last year. And, it was a game that when I scheduled it, a lot of people told me, you shouldn't play East Side, don't play East Side. There's no win in that for us, Cedric and I got together when he was a head coach. We scheduled that game, and it was a good game last year. We lost by a touchdown. And I think the history of the game beyond that, I want to say one of my coaches told me that when he was here at PK back in the early 90s, that maybe somebody a few years ahead of him played against Eastside, but maybe he's thinking that they played at Citizens but did not play Eastside. So we've either never played Eastside, or these last 2 years were the first 2 times we've played Eastside. Coach,
last thing for you. We appreciate you joining us this morning. With COVID, it's been crazy. I mean, it's been crazy at the high school, at the collegiate level and the NFL. But talk a little bit how difficult it has been on high school coaches. Just your routine is all screwed up, trying to keep kids safe, and how your kids have responded to everything that you've tried to do.
Well, I think the biggest thing that, that's probably wearing a lot of coaches out is your indoor facility usage. You're only allowed to put 15 kids in an indoor space, depending on how big the space is, so, they've allowed me to use 4 portables because I've got 60 kids. So I'm using 4 portables when it rains and things like that to put them in. I mean, we've literally been drilling inside of a portable because we've not had access to the gym the last few weeks. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. I think these kids have committed themselves to staying safe for the most part. Some teams are dealing with it spreading, some teams are not. But I think the biggest thing is probably for me has just been indoor spaces, where to put the kids in inclement weather and things like that. But fortunately, administration has worked with me to provide that for us.
Now, your game tomorrow night, it's your on campus at PK Young. It's a good football team. The general public can't come, right?
Tickets are actually they can come. The tickets were put online. We kind of kept that to friends and family so that people of PK and Florida High could get those tickets first. But if there's still tickets available for the general public, we'll make that link known. But typically what we're seeing is once you take care of, school-affiliated people and the visitors teams, cheer squad, band, all that type of stuff, because of capacity, typically there's no tickets left. But if one were to get their hands on that link, yes, we'd allow them to buy a ticket.
So if someone comes to the game tomorrow night, tell me a couple of players that they should look out for wearing the blue uniforms of PK Young.
I think they should definitely look out for we got a couple of guys on the offensive line. Our nose center, number 70, CJ Phillips. My tackle, 52, Javari Seabrooks. Those guys are earth movers. Really looking forward to how the big guys perform. And then, them behind them directly is the quarterback, Aaron Small Jr., number 5. He's a great player. We've got 6 running backs that we really like. And we've got some defenders. A lot of these same running backs are defenders on the other side. Philip Miller, Taylor Kendrick, Torrey Cobb, Isaiah Wilcox, KJ Wooden. These kids, we've got some great skill players that we're looking forward to helping making this game interesting tomorrow night.
Well, good luck to you, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time to join us, and we'll check in and see how it went and talk to you next week.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
That's Coach Marcus McDonald, PK Young, joining us here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline.
Coach Scott McDaniel, St. Francis. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
I'm great, Shane. Yourself?
Doing well. Coach, you played 2 games, won a kickoff classic, and then you had a rough one last week. Just in those 2 games, what have you seen out of your football team?
Well, we've been up and down. The first week, I felt like our skill guys were fairly sharp and played well enough for us to win, and we couldn't really get it done on the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball. And then last week, the offensive line was markedly improved, but some of our skill guys weren't quite as sharp, and we got pushed around defensively. So up and down right now, learning experience, a lot of inexperienced kids trying to find new roles and new positions on the team.
Who's your opponent for tomorrow night?
Monroe Day School out of Quincy, big, strong, physical team. We played them in a shootout last year. They beat us 38-34. They've added a couple of kids, some very talented players that had transferred in out of Georgia. So we got a work cut out for us.
Coach, you probably only have, around 20 to 25 kids on your roster. Talk a little bit about how difficult that is from a standpoint of, kids having to play both ways. And you have to be kind of vanilla on both sides of the ball, right?
Absolutely. It limits your scheme because you're trying to split practice time between both sides of the ball and special teams. Depth is a problem. We're limited. I think we'll dress 21 tomorrow night. So we're limited personnel-wise. And if one guy goes down, it hurts you in all three phases. So it's tough as a coach for planning. And, yeah, you're right. The schemes are not nearly as intricate because you just don't have the time to work on them on either side of the ball.
Coach, you're in week 3. Y'all been practicing for probably close to a month now. How have your kids handled the different ways you've had to practice? Just with all the COVID, I know it's been difficult, especially at the high school level. But how have your kids handled it?
I think they've done really well, within the school and then at practice on the bus trips. We've taken 2 away games. We mask on the bus, so those things the kids have really, they've really done well with. I think that's because they really want to be in school and they really want to be, out on the football field. So they're willing to do those things to give us the opportunity to play.
So you got a home game tomorrow night. Are outside fans able to come watch this, or is it just the players can sell X amount of tickets? How are y'all doing it?
Well, we have a limited attendance, but we will have each player is guaranteed. I think two attendees per player are guaranteed. I think 50 students. The opponents, I think, can bring in 50 people, so it's going to be limited. There may or may not be, extra tickets depending on the size of the how many kids bring people. So they're only guaranteed 2. So we are limited, even though it's outside. We have a small facility, and we are trying to do our part to social distance people responsibly at our games.
Coach, you said you were in a shootout with this team last year. Do you expect a shootout tomorrow night? And what does St. Francis have to do to win the football game?
I do expect both teams to be able to score some points. So we're going to have to probably score upper 20s, lower 30s to give ourselves a chance to win. Last week the game got away from us. We turned it over twice in the red zone, threw 2 interceptions in the end zone. So we can't afford to do that this week. They're very athletic in the backfield and out on the perimeter, and so the big play is a big deal. Can't turn it over when we get in close, and we have to make them drive the field. They are prone to mistakes. I think in the first couple of games, they snapped the ball to the quarterback's head 2 or 3 times each game. So they're prone to mistakes. If we don't give up the big play, force them to snap the ball again, I like to say, and drive the field, that's going to give us more opportunities because they're going to make mistakes. And then I think in the passing game, they're kind of vanilla defensively. They just let their athletes play, and it's going to give us some opportunities. So I think we'll be able to score some points.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining the program this morning. Good luck to the Wolves tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you next week. Awesome,
Shane. I really appreciate you having me. Thanks for what you do.
Yes, sir. That's Coach Scott McDaniel, St. Francis. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. Now we're going to go to Coach R.J. Fuhr for the Oak Hall Eagles.
Welcome back. We're now joined by Oak Hall School's head football coach, R.J. Fuhr. Good morning, R.J. How are you?
I'm doing well, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Oak Hall sits at 2-0 on the season. Tell us about who you got Friday night.
Yeah, we joined the 8-league conference with the Sunshine State Athletic Conference, and we have City of Life Christian Academy, which they're out of Kissimmee. So we have them this Friday, and we're just learning 8-man. To be honest with you, it's a lot of the same stuff. We still run power and counter and sweep and block and tackle, but it's interesting. We had some lower numbers, and But we look into just having 8-man this year and then moving back to 11 next year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. You've done a tremendous job since you've taken over at Oak Hall. How was the transition for you to go to 8-man football and learn about it?
It was a little difficult, just because we had to basically change our whole offense. We had changed our offense last January to more of a spread offense. We had Cole Gonzalez as our quarterback, had some good receivers. And, in the previous years, we always had big backs. We were, 21 personnel, a lot of regular, what we called, 2 backs, 3 receivers. We always had, we had Chase Trinnell, who was 6'2", 235. We had Thomas George play some fullback that was 260. Jackson Carey was 235. So we always had that, pro style under center. So we switched to spread. And this year, it made it even harder because we didn't have spring football. And we really weren't able to install until about 3 weeks before the season. And we went old school. We're a single wing spin series. So pretty much you couldn't get more opposite of what we were last year. But the kids have really done a great job with it. With Andrew Pickens, we moved him from receiver to quarterback, and he's a very good athlete and very, very bright kid. So he's able to help guide the offense. So it's where it was difficult just because we didn't have much time in the off season. It was a pretty smooth transition. Our offense, 2 weeks in a row, we've put up almost 250 yards rushing per game. Our 3 of our backs are averaging over 8 yards a carry. So yeah, we're kind of, as a defensive guy, I kind of like it because it's a lot of, ball control, ground and pound, eat the clock. So I'm loving that.
So let's just say if you didn't implement your kind of wing tee offense, if you were going to do a so-called spread, I'm picturing what 8-man would look like. Would it be almost like a flag football lineup where you have a center and like two guards and then everybody's spread out? How do teams do an 8-man if you play like a spread?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So like the team that we're playing this week, they do a lot of doubles. So they got twins on each side and they've got a guard and a center and 2 guards. Our offense is unique because we still have 5 linemen, but our tackles are actually eligible. You have to have, the league says you have to have 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. So obviously, our tackles really become our tight ends, and we actually utilize them in the passing game. So, on one play, our tackle is pulling on counter, and on the next play, he might be going out, just a tight end pop pass or something, or just, running a flood. So yeah, you're right though. It's almost kind of like arena ball in a way,
right.
When they run the spread, they'll have, 1 back, 1 quarterback, usually in the shotgun, and then, 2 receivers on each side, and then the 3 linemen. So a lot of man-to-man defense. There's not a whole lot you can do on the back end defensively, which kind of stinks because, last year we had multiple coverages and multiple blitz packages. So, I was interviewed last week. I said the biggest difference, you really notice the 3 guys missing on defense more than you do offense. Because I'm kind of an aggressive play caller on defense, and I like blitzing, and it's hard to blitz because you just don't have that back end help with the safeties.
Last thing for you, Coach, with COVID and everything, it's been a headache for everyone, obviously, but especially at the high school level. How have you and your staff handled it, and your kids on the team? Yeah,
it's every week is hard. The conference that we're in, they have the home team call the coach on Monday and Thursdays just to check in to make sure everyone's healthy. I mean, week to week, you just don't know if you're going to have a game, and that's hard. It's hard to have 15, 16, 17-year-old kids prepare like we're going to play But I mean, you could find out Thursday, the day before the game, that you're not playing. So, we just try and keep it as normal as possible. We do the precautionary measures. During workouts this summer, we wore masks. We took temps. We wear masks when we're not scrimmaging. We do check-ins, temperature check-ins. Only allowed 8 guys in the locker room for a 5-minute period. So I'll be honest with you, the game is almost secondary in terms of, you got a game plan, obviously, but you also got to worry about, we're not taking school buses. So now I feel like a travel agent at times. We're trying to make sure we got kids lined up for rides and when we're leaving and what time we're leaving. So, yeah, it's definitely a interesting year for sure.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning, and we wish you all a lot of luck to go 3-0 on the season, and we'll talk to you another time down the road, Coach.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for all you guys do for high school football in the area. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. That's Coach RJ Fuhr from Oak Hall. Join us on the Take Tomorrow hotline, and we'll be right back.
Well, now we're going to head over to Dixie County. We're joined by LB Cravey, head football coach of the Bears. Good morning, LB. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. How's it going?
Doing well, man. So, LB, you sit right now, you lose your opener, a heartbreaker against the Union County Tigers. Tell us a little bit of who stood out in that game for you.
Well, we went into the game. Union County has a ton of athletes and a big up front, and we went into the game kind of nervous about our young offensive line and how they'd handle it, but they did a tremendous job blocking. Quarterback Sam Cannon came in there and definitely made his reads. We run a lot of the veer and midline kind of option style offense, and definitely our offensive line holding that up. But really, our quarterbacks and running backs were really fitting their blocks and making plays when they had to.
Who you got tomorrow night?
We got Williston home.
Right.
Red Devils. Rick Whittington, former defensive coordinator, Dixie graduate.
Oh boy. So this is year 2 for you taking over your alma mater. Playing Williston, it's kind of a rivalry type game, but also this game's going to be televised on My 11 in the Gainesville surrounding areas by Jeff Cardozo and Shannon Snell. Your kids got to be pretty excited about playing on TV, right?
Oh yeah, they're super excited. They given just like every team in America, but the circumstances of everything they've been through, the boys are super excited. The TV cameras are coming. They're presenting a trophy at the game. It's just a fun opportunity for a season wasn't sure was even going to happen, and now getting to play on TV, they're pumped about it.
So LB, when you look at your football team, there's the old cliche, a team makes its most improvement from game 1 to game 2. I don't know if that's true or not, but what are you looking for from a standpoint of your team improving so y'all can get the win over Williston? Just not making mental mistakes and holding on to the turnover. That's what really hurt us the other night against Lake Butler, was just turning the ball over. We did a lot of ball security, given the wet field and rain this week, really working on holding on to the football, being disciplined on the snap counts, just little things, first game jitters that we had last week that I feel like if we can control the football and block the way we blocked and run the way we run, we should be successful Friday night. How does Williston look on tape?
They're big. They're big and athletic. They always are. They got a ton of athletes on both sides of the ball. A lot of boys play both ways, kind of like how we do over here. Definitely got a big old running back and the number 4, big old boy that can really tote the football. Our boys have to wrap up and get him on the ground if we're going to win.
Last question for you. I mean, this is year 2, young football coach. I mean, you had to go through a lot this year. Your kids, the coaching staff. How have your kids and your staff responded to all the logistics of the COVID stuff? In the past, you say, boys, now you got to have the grades. You've got to be disciplined outside of football. You've got to, make right decisions. And, those are always the things that they had to do. Well, on top of that, now they've got to make sure that they're distancing themselves in the classroom, making sure that they're wearing their masks, doing everything that they can to make sure they stay healthy. And the boys have done everything that they're supposed to do. They're excited, ready to play football, and they're willing to do anything, coaches included. So it's been a big team unifying thing, and it's definitely worked out for us. LB, we appreciate you joining the program this morning. Good luck to the Bears tomorrow night against the Red Devils. Hope everybody stays safe over there, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
I appreciate it, Shane. Thank you, man.
Yep, that's LB Cravey joining us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the program. We come back, we're going to wrap this show up. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. GTS Handyman Services, whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting in Gainesville, they are the team to hire. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to Pot Up from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. This Day in Sports is brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting, fences, minute, or handyman services, call GTS 352-363-6622. This Day in Sports, back in 1953, Ernie Banks becomes the Chicago Cubs' first black player, and he later became Mr. Cub. So that happened in 1953. This Day in Sports brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. I really want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us, giving us an update of what's going on in college football, and really want to thank all our high school coaches, Marcus McDonald, RJ Fuhr, Scott McDaniel, and LB Cravey, getting geared up for tomorrow night's high school games. Make sure U.S. Open starts today, folks. Going to be hard on those boys. This is a hard golf course. I hope even par, or one over, one under wins this tournament. My two sleeper picks, not really a sleeper because Xander Schauffele is kind of one of the favorites, but my sleeper pick, Matthew Wolf out of Oklahoma State. But that's pretty much it. Make sure you follow us and like us. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We have Anthony Nesty, All-American swimmer at Florida, also now the head swimming coach at the University of Florida. This show is a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Stay safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.